And then upload it. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. This is Reverend Chris Oldham, Divine Interventions Ministries. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an angel minister. I am a healer and alchemist. And when I say alchemist, I don't say that as in, oh, I'm an alchemist. It's just who we are and what we do. All of us are alchemists at different levels of proficiency. I have been doing this for a while, and I've got to the point where I'm actually training people in doing alchemy. So that is what I do. I heal, I counsel, I do readings, and the newest venture that the angels have brought me to is prophecy. So tonight I'm bringing you what is actually the second in a series of prophecies that I don't know how long it's going to be. You know, when God speaks and tells you something, there is no set time schedule for what he has to say. So today is the second message. Now, just to give you a little bit of a insight about me and how this came about. First off, if you want to know more about me and who I am, you can access the links in the description. The best place to find out about what I do and who I am is at the Divine Interventions group on Facebook. And the group address is capital D, capital I, Hub, H-U-B. And it is a social learning group. And what I have set up there are units of all of the things that we have done in the group that I have shared with the group from the angels, because that's who I work with is the angels and God and the masters. And if you want to know more about me, that's the best place to do it. So, having said that, I really don't come to this whole prophecy thing with bells on. When the angels came to me and said, okay, this is the next step in your path, you're going to be doing prophecy. Honestly, I said, why? There are a bazillion prophets out there. They're like a dime a freaking dozen. Why does the world need more prophets? What am I supposed to say that the rest of them aren't telling you? So the message that came to me is that my role here is to help you see ahead as to how our ascension and everything that comes with it plays out practically in the physical world. This isn't all about just things don't just change inside and everything stays the same outside. We already know that if we're far enough along the path to have had that experience already. As within, so without. If we change, everything around us changes. So what is that going to look like when we move fully into the ascended state of the Christed consciousness? Because that's where we're heading, is the Christed consciousness. How does that play out? What does that look like as far as how we structure our new civilization? Because it is. You see, all of the structures in our culture are breaking down. I mean, they are just, it's like, what is going on here? If you look, you say, this makes no sense at all. This is beyond perverse. It's ridiculous. There's no logic to it and no reason anymore. It's just all crumbling to the ground. There's nothing holding it up. And that's just part of the process. That has to happen. But the question is, then what? What takes its place? And so before we can get to that point, there are plenty of things that have to happen to get us to the point where we're ready to start restructuring and rebuilding and recreating. And there needs to be, we are going to have a total paradigm shift in the way we think about things and the things that we believe in. And our things that we do and things that we take for granted as part of our civilization are based on structures and beliefs that aren't necessarily aligned with the Christed consciousness. And those things have to change. So today's message that I'm bringing you has to do with, the theme for this message is about we can't take it with us. And that goes for everything. So the vision that I was given, and you say I had to get, for this, I had to get my own pretty little journal. My little pretty feathery angel journal, to write down what is being given to me at the times that it's being given. So today's message is we can't take it with us. And let me share what I was shown. And I'm just going to read this as it came to me, and I put it down. In a recent vision, I was shown a moving van. Just a plain old ordinary garden variety moving van, being filled with all the contents of a place that had been home for a long time. Picture somebody living someplace for 20, 30 some years, and they move. And all the stuff that gets packed up and put in the back of the van. And this stuff that was being put in the van was now destined to be taken to a new home. A new home. Now, when the van arrives and unpacked, everything was brought out of the van. All of the cartons were unpacked. All the furniture was taken out. Proper places were found to put all of these things in the home. And when the job was done and all of this stuff came from the other home into the van, out of the van to the new home, all in its place, the message that came was, can you see that there is nothing changed here? Everything is as it was before, but only put in a new location. So the couch is the same couch, it went to a new home. The tables are the same tables, it just went to a new home. Rearranged maybe a little bit differently or probably the same way, according to the rooms. You know, the beds are the same. They just went and they got put in the new rooms. The kitchen utensils got put in the new kitchen in their new place. But they're still the same things. All that made these people comfortable and served their needs well in the old home, they believe is going to continue to do so because they took it to the new home. We're moving to a new place. Yay, we're going to take all this old stuff with us. And we're going to be just as happy there with this stuff as we were in the old place. And I'm here to tell you now that in terms of the ascension on our moving into the new earth, that just ain't so. It's not going to cut it. Not going to happen. You can't take the old stuff with you and put it in the new and expect it to be the same, to make you comfortable. Matter of fact, most of the stuff that you want to bring with you is not going to pass muster. It's not going to get across the border. You know, the spiritual angelic customs team is not going to allow most of that stuff through. That's why you are going through right now, and have been for quite a while, so much of this releasing of baggage. All of the emotions and fears and stuff that we carry with us that, that has been, that we've developed through a lifetime. And if you look at all of the furniture and the technical gadgets and the stuff and the utensils in the kitchen and the tools and the vehicles and the lawn care stuff, the laundry, bathroom, if you look at all of these different things, and instead you think of these as all of your thoughts, fears, beliefs, methods, rules, philosophies, and behavior patterns that created the structure of your life, arranged just so. All of these things were only valid back in the old earth, the old plane, the old timeline, developed for a different purpose, in a different energy, developed to support mental focus and emotion and ego. All of these things were part of that. Well, guess what? All of that just gets, none of that passes the border. It doesn't get through customs. You can't take the old structures. And we're not talking, when we say baggage now, you have to understand that we're expanding the definition of baggage. It isn't just our emotional wounds and fears. It is all of the beliefs about the way things ought to be, the cultural paradigms that we live in about how we deal with different things in our family, in our society, in our groups, and all the different things we do. How do we deal with sick people? How do we deal with people who are criminals? How do we deal with getting things done in a group setting? How do we deal with our society? How do we get things accomplished? How do we look at what goes on? How do we treat other people? How do we treat ourselves? How do we see all of that? What is our place in all of that? The old models for all of those things, the old tribal matrices, have got to go, because they're all, 98% of them, based on ego and mental constructs, habits, beliefs, and paradigms. And this even goes to religion. There's a whole cleansing of religion and spirituality and who we are and how we deal in the world. What is divine? What does that mean? How does it relate to us? How do we relate to it? What do we do with it? Not to mention all of the amazing new gifts and abilities that are opening up to us as creator beings in this new earth construct. You can't move into a new earth and take with you the things that supported old earth, old timeline stuff. And you probably, if you're paying attention and not casting aspersions on anybody, some of us notice this, some of us don't, that there are so many things that you may have tried to accomplish or do in a certain way, and they're not working anymore. Why is that? Well, because the rules are changing. The rules are changing. We're moving into the Christed light and the Christed consciousness. What is that? The foundation of the Christed consciousness is divine love. And I will upload the first prophecy, which really goes into what is divine love. And I'll give you a hint. It's not the emotional love that we feel in our hearts, like love for another person, because that love is not inclusive. It's exclusive. Try loving everybody the way you love your spouse or your kids. You're not going to be able to do it because it's an ego-based emotion. That's for the first video, if you go back to that. So the old energies are totally incompatible with the new. The mental model does not hold sway, is not the primary way of getting things done in the new earth. It is the spiritual model. It is rising above into the higher mind and connection with spirit and our higher aspects of being, our divine selves. That's where things get done and how we do things in the new world. Does it mean we're going to sit around like slugs? No, it doesn't. We are still going to have things to do. But the things that create and design the lives that we're going to live and the culture that we're going to create and build and live within are going to be guided from that place. That's where we're going to get our guidance and our inspiration and our knowledge of, yeah, okay, this is the way we need to do that in order so that we can honor each other. Yeah, there are a lot of us right now who are saying we need to love each other, we need to honor each other, we need not to be fighting all the time, we need to go blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But none of the current paradigms or thoughts that people have about how that's supposed to happen are going to work in the new earth because they're all based on mental and emotional models. And we have to open to something new. All right, so just for another example of how, what I'm talking about, just so you might see it in a little different light for those who are kind of having trouble with the model I've given. If you think, for example, if in your old home that you're moving from, you have termites that are destroying that house, do you bring them with you to the new? Because everything, these old mental paradigms are what are destroying our society and our culture now. That's why it's coming apart. Do we bring that with us? It's like we hear people talking about they move from one state because they can't stand what their state has become, and they move to another state and they vote in the same way that produce more of the same stuff that created the conditions that they moved away from. Because it's part of the paradigm they're buried in. They took the termites with them. We can't do that. We aren't going to be allowed to do that. It's not even, a choice. Trust me. If you resist releasing these things and opening to new, you are setting yourself up for some severe healing crises and disruption in your life. Because that resistance is just going to keep beating you over the head with a 2x4 until you finally get it. And understand that any of us that try and go through with it's a my way or the highway attitude, I've got all the answers, I know the way things are supposed to be, and you don't want to let go of that, you're going to have a rude awakening. because we can't take the termites with us. At this time in our planet and in your evolution, this is coming to as I was given it. At this time on your planet and in your evolution, all the things that have caused your current reality to sink down into the corrupt, evil state which now exists will not be able to enter into the new and love-driven world which your souls crave to inhabit. Amen. This is the way it has to be. You do not yet understand the fullness of this statement. Much of what you now believe and think, which seems good on the surface, leads to extremes which are easily seen by most as wrong, not right, or upside down, perverse, depraved, crazy. At this time, the process by which this takes place is being accelerated. So it happens before you can get used to each new step towards the ultimate perversion of these ideas. The dark forces at work have lost control of the process and know they are being exposed. This is loosening their control of your thoughts and free will as well. Through the media, and that includes the papers and the radio and the TV and the movies and the music industry, all of it, all of that media has been used to control you, to create a mindset, a program in your mind that brings you into alignment and agreement with the things that are happening now. And you can say to yourself, for example, that vaccination is a good thing because it helps prevent us from getting illnesses that would really be detrimental to our health and maybe even our survival. Okay, when vaccinations came out, one of the first things they came out was smallpox and then polio. Things that we really needed help eradicating. And then it kept going and going and going. So, that has evolved from an agreement that, yes, we need these, in order to help us maintain a better state of health and well-being and longevity. And when we agreed to that, what has happened now? It has morphed into something like maybe 16 shots when I was a kid, if that, morphed into an insane number. It's over 80, maybe 90 shots. Some of them you're getting 2 and 3 times. For what? And the detriment to our kids is manifesting before our eyes. And there are still the media who are telling us that it's just our imagination, that there's no relationship to any of this stuff and all of the stuff and all of the things that are happening to our children. And to us, and senior citizens that are suffering greatly from some of these, like the flu vaccine that is just not working. So what happened along the way with that? We agreed that this was a good thing, and because we agreed it was a good thing, well, the CDC, which creates vaccines, and any other vaccine companies were given a pass a number of years ago on being sued. They can't be sued and pay the price for their negative, their lack of diligence about the quality and effectiveness of what they're putting out there. But we agreed to that. You say, well, no, I didn't. I think that's stupid that they can't get sued. Well, sorry, when we agreed that vaccines were a good thing, well, that evolved then along the line. In every part of the way, we were talked into agreeing to the next step because we agreed to the original principle. And then lo and behold, here we are. And it's really not too cool. There's a lot of nasty things going on with vaccines if you do the research into it. Another point is when we look at abortion. Years and years ago, when Roe v. Wade came around, you may have been convinced that a woman should have the choice. And it was told to us that it was not going to be an everyday thing. It wasn't birth control. It was going to be, just if needed. So what have we got now? We have almost 1 million babies a year being aborted in this country. Not only that, now we have just come up with, the cork is off of the bottle with all of this stuff. All right. Now we have, we've gone from aborting from the womb before the baby is survivable. Still a human being, but that was the agreement that was made. Okay. And if there was something wrong with the baby or the mother's life was in danger. And now this has evolved, all right, extended out to the craziest and extreme ends of this spectrum. Now we have agreed to even that we can kill them after they're born. Yeah, we don't like this one. Let's go. We don't, taking it. Yeah, go ahead, take it. I don't want it. Why would we do that? Where is the sense? Where's the humanity in that? Now, you may not agree with what I'm saying, and you may be turned off by the fact that I'm saying, but what I'm telling you is truth. What we agreed to originally has morphed and evolved into its most extreme case, which if anybody had told us that this was going to be the end result when we first agreed here, we'd have thought long and hard about that. But we agreed to that, and this is where it is. But and because these things have been taking place over a few decades, step by step by step, and they push a little here, and I agree to that. And you go on, well, I agreed to this, so this is okay. Oh yeah, okay. So this is just I agreed to that, so I believe that's okay. Whatever, you do that until all of a sudden we find that we have situations like it's okay to kill babies after they're born. Or if they're still alive after a botched aborted attempt, we just leave them on the table to scream and suffer. We don't even have to try and resuscitate them or make them comfortable. Nope, they're done. And we've gotten to that point step by step. Now, you notice that all of a sudden we have so many of these things popping up, like the abortion, like the craziness with immigration that's going on, like the vaccines, like so many other things right now that are happening in our society, and the human sex trafficking, the child sex trafficking, and worse that are going on. We agreed to all of this in the beginning. We either agreed to it consciously, or we subconsciously knew these things were happening and we turned the blind eye for it. So turning away and not saying no is the same as saying yes, people. When it comes to spirit and soul, if you don't say no, you are agreeing to something. And we have to, none of these things can come with us. So these are just extreme examples of some of the belief systems and paradigms that we're carrying with us that we're going to have to let go of. And some of us are not going to be very happy about that. We're not going to be really happy about what happens when we apply divine love to these situations. What does divine love demand in these situations? How does that get applied? Those are messages for further on, but this is where we're heading. We've got to wipe the blackboard clean, erase it and wash it so that we have room to open up to new things, to put new things on the blackboard, to create a life that makes more sense for everybody, not just half of the people or 25% of the people, everybody. This is where we're going. And almost anybody would agree that this is where we want to be. But remember, I don't know if some of you have seen the cartoon. There's a cartoon out, has been for a while, where a politician is standing in the podium and he's got this group of people around him and he says, how many people want change? And man, everybody raises their hand in the air. Yeah, change, I want change. And then in the next screen frame, the politician says, how many of you want to change? Nobody raises their hand. And that is the base truth of the situation. Everybody wants change because they think that the other guy has to change. That they're good, it's the other guy that's got to change. But when you say, how many of you want to change? Zero. Now, there are some things that are going to come with us, sure. But the vast majority of these structures, the social, governmental, and cultural structures, family, healthcare, all of that is all going to have a massive reconstruction, rebuilding, reimagining. And how we do things, business, banking, money, all of it has to change. And we can only change if we leave what is here now behind, and we are ready to look at how to do it better. And again, I'll just read. This is more of what I was given. It said, be prepared to leave most of everything behind, to come into the new earth ready to learn new ways, new beliefs, and to embody the Christed consciousness within you and within the culture that arises. So that is the message. That is the prophecy that I was given. This is the next step. This is what you need to be looking forward to. This is what is coming. This is here for you and given to you so that if you are watching this and you get this message, that you are not so taken by surprise when these big changes and big truths open up to you and you realize that there's another way to think about things. There's more than one way to travel down a river. There is more than one way to make pancakes. And we need to be open to exploring these new ways and new thoughts and new ideas. And to understanding that none of this is meant to threaten us. None of this is meant to tell us that we don't know squat and we've been doing it wrong all this time. No, nobody's doing anything wrong, okay? Everybody's been doing the things that were mandated by the culture that we were in and the energetic structures, paradigms, belief sets, and the overarching presence of the dark forces around us that were promoting all of this. So we have to understand that it's time for us to wake up now. We have been controlled, and it's time for us to take back our control, to open up to the truth of ourselves, who we are, the light within us, our divine soul, and our ability to have a greater level of control of our life and our environment and our culture and everything that goes on in it. You aren't wrong. You are just doing what you were programmed to do. What each of us was programmed to do, we have been doing. Except for those who are waking up, who are starting to question, who are not buying and waiting for somebody to tell them the answers, who are digging in and finding for themselves. And this is the biggest part of the process, is waking up and asking questions. Start seeing the inconsistencies and the hypocrisies that are involved, and the flat out lies and lack of knowledge and misdirection that has been going on with us in all areas. The way we have allowed ourselves to be taken advantage of financially and medically, and in our jobs, and in everywhere we have allowed ourselves to be taken advantage of. We have played the victim role, and even when we value success as just making money and being at the top rung of the corporate ladder. Well, that model is going to be changing, I ought to tell you. We're going to be rethinking a lot of things, but be open to that rethinking. Because if you are open to that rethinking, then the transition into a new and better way of being will be a lot smoother. Is if you decide to feel threatened by it and resist it, that's when you're going to get the 2x4 across the head, and you're really going to have some upheaval and destruction in your life before you finally get it, and before you're ready to be clear of it all. Trust me, I've been there. I was stubborn and lost everything before I was ready to come into a better state of belief and being. But I know better now. Am I perfect? Hell no. Absolutely not. And I understand that. And I also understand that at another level, I am perfect, as we all are perfect. But that level is our soul level. That's where our perfection lies, and our light and our strength and our divinity. And that's where the Christed light lies, and where the Christed consciousness is going to call home. So I hope that you have gotten some value out of listening to this. All I can do is share what I'm given to share and what I know from my own experience. And I don't know when the next one of these is going to be. Whenever the Lord feels it's necessary, whenever God, the Almighty, feels that it's necessary, that there's more that you need to know when we've hit that stage. And the other thing that I have to say is that it's ever since I received this message, and I received it a few days ago, last weekend, end of last week, I received it. And since I have received it, I have seen so much that is showing the truth of this message, the synchronicity with what I was given to share going on. And once you start looking around, you probably will too. So anyway, that is what I have to say for today. I hope you got value from it. And if you care to leave me any comments, no, if you're going to give me garbage, that shows to me that you're not ready. And it shows to your team that you're not ready. It doesn't matter whether I think you're not ready or not. Really, that doesn't matter. That would be like pure ego. It just says that you're not ready yet to go where you need to go, and you have a lot of work to do. I was in that place once too. I still have a lot of work to do. Not as much as before, but we all need to be open and to stop judging and to stop the vitriol and stop telling everybody else that they're crazy and it's my way or the highway or you're wrong. No, that's not the way to do it. You aren't wrong. I'm not wrong. Nobody's wrong. We are without the necessary knowledge to make decisions that are more aligned with light and enlightenment and awakening and ascending. That's all. We just need more input, and we have to be open to receiving it. So anyway, blessings on all of you. Good night, and have a wonderful day, week, and please be grateful for all that you have. Stay grounded and centered, and try and rising up into the higher planes to look at everything with your God goggles, so that you don't get carried away in the upheaval and the trauma that's happening at lower levels as things get cleaned out. Blessings to all of you, and good night.